The world watched her grow from a bright-eyed royal toddler into the poised and graceful heir to the Spanish throne, but few could have predicted the breathtaking transformation that Princess Leonor of Spain has undergone in recent years. From her delicate beginnings as the daughter of King Felipe VI and Queen Letizia to becoming a striking, independent young woman with a firm presence in the public sphere, the shift in her demeanor, attitude, and overall aura has become impossible to ignore. Something has undeniably changed. She is no longer the same girl who once held tightly to her mother's hand at royal events. Princess Leonor has emerged into a figure of growing power, independence, and silent resilience, and even her parents, Felipe and Letizia, have come to terms with the reality that their daughter's journey is now forging its own path. Once shielded by layers of palace protection and carefully curated public appearances, Princess Leonor's transformation has been both subtle and seismic. Those who have followed her evolution are struck not only by her beauty and grace, but by the deeper shift in her eyes, an unspoken maturity, a knowing confidence that suggests years of silent preparation and internal change. When the cameras flash now, she meets them not with timid uncertainty, but with a calm, piercing gaze that speaks volumes. And for King Felipe and Queen Letizia, this isn't just a shift in their daughter's behavior, it's a sign that the legacy of the Spanish monarchy is being rewritten right before their eyes. From her earliest speeches, it was clear Leonor had a remarkable presence. But now, her delivery carries the weight of a future monarch who understands the gravity of her destiny. The trembling voice of a teenage princess is gone. In its place stands a young woman who commands rooms with poise and conviction. Her recent appearances have stunned even seasoned royal watchers. She doesn't merely arrive at events, she owns them. Every step, every glance, every handshake seems choreographed by instinct rather than training. There is a new light in Leonor, one that even Queen Letizia, known for her perfectionism and exacting standards, now recognizes with a bittersweet pride. It wasn't always this way. There was a time when Queen Letizia orchestrated every inch of her daughter's public lives. The Queen, a former journalist herself, understood the harsh scrutiny of public life better than most. She shaped Leonor's image with careful precision, sheltering her from invasive questions and guarding her innocence like a priceless heirloom. But children grow, time moves forward, and as Leonor entered adolescence, it became clear that the quiet child was developing a powerful inner voice. Not one that shouts for attention, but one that speaks with quiet authority. There was a moment, small, almost imperceptible to casual observers, when everything changed. During a military ceremony at the Zaragoza Academy, where Leonor is undergoing her military training, she stood among soldiers, not as a protected royal, but as one of them. Her uniform sat perfectly on her shoulders, her movements crisp, her demeanor unshaken. It was there, surrounded by discipline and duty, that Leonor found something that no palace could teach her, the strength of experience. Her transformation accelerated from that point forward. The girl who once hesitated now leads, and her posture, both literal and symbolic, tells a new story. Observers have noted how her relationship with her parents has shifted. Not in rebellion, but in evolution. There's a visible emotional adjustment happening behind palace doors. King Felipe, long seen as the stoic but loving father, now treats Leonor not only as his daughter, but increasingly as his successor. The exchanges between them are more formal during public ceremonies, marked by gestures that resemble the careful passing of a torch. Queen Letizia, on the other hand, has been more complex to read. Her pride in her daughter is evident, but so is the slight tension in her smile, perhaps the silent sorrow of a mother watching her firstborn cross an invisible threshold into womanhood, sovereignty, and ultimately, independence. What makes Leonor's transformation even more poignant is the context in which it's happening. Spain has been navigating political challenges, social changes, and questioning the relevance of its monarchy. In this uncertain environment, Leonor stands as a beacon of hope, not because of what she represents in title, but because of who she is becoming. Her evolution is not just a personal journey, it's a strategic pivot for the monarchy itself. A monarchy that has faced scandals, skepticism, and calls for reform now finds itself anchored by a young woman whose authenticity might be the very lifeline it needs. Behind the palace walls, insiders whisper of a deliberate but respectful shift in Letizia and Philippe's roles as parents. The Queen, once fiercely protective, has stepped back slightly, not out of neglect, but out of necessity. Letizia understands better than anyone that a queen must be forged by fire, and Leonor is now standing in that fire with courage. Felipe, the ever-dignified monarch, has begun including Leonor in more constitutional events, sometimes allowing her to stand in his place symbolically. These aren't gestures of indulgence, they are acknowledgments that change is here, and the future has arrived sooner than expected. At home, the dynamic is also shifting. Leonor is said to be more reserved with her younger sister Sophia, once her closest ally. While the bond remains unbroken, the intensity of Leonor's transformation has inevitably created distance. The days of childish whispers and shared giggles have been replaced by solo responsibilities, deep reflection, and growing solitude. Even among her peers at the military academy, Leonor is viewed with a curious blend of respect and awe. She doesn't act entitled, but she doesn't blend in either. There's something regal in the way she accepts challenges without complaint, in the way she earns her place not through privilege but through resilience. And it's that resilience that has surprised her own family the most. Letizia, despite her polished exterior, has always been driven by anxiety, the anxiety of appearances, of performance, of legacy. Felipe, more traditional and composed, often follows protocol with quiet loyalty. But Leonor, this new Leonor, is different. She understands the rules, but she does not let them define her. She follows protocol, but she moves with a freedom that suggests she knows how to carry the weight of her role without being crushed by it. That, perhaps, is what has changed the most. Leonor has shed the image crafted for her and built her own, one that even her parents had not fully anticipated. It's no surprise that Spanish media has begun to shift its tone. Where once there were puff pieces and protective praise, there are now serious analyses of Leonor's style, substance, and symbolism. Fashion commentators note her elegant but minimalist wardrobe choices, choices that reflect not just taste, but intention. Political commentators marvel at her composure during tense public moments, where even seasoned leaders falter. Royal historians are beginning to place her not merely as the daughter of Felipe and Letizia, but as the future architect of a modern monarchy. And across social media, young Spaniards who once saw the monarchy as irrelevant are slowly beginning to speak of her with admiration, even hope. Internationally, too, Leonor's presence is being noticed. Comparisons are inevitably drawn with other royal heirs, Princess Catharina Amalia of the Netherlands, Crown Princess Elizabeth of Belgium, and Princess Ingrid Alexandra of Norway, but Leonor stands apart. There's a quiet gravity to her that sets her apart from her peers. She's not just preparing for power, she's already exercising it in the subtle realm of perception. She knows when to speak, and when to remain silent. She knows that in the modern world, influence often lies not in declarations, but in restraint. The palace itself has responded to this shift. Behind the scenes, royal staff have adjusted to accommodate the rise of Leonor. Her schedule has become more intense, her briefings more sophisticated, her exposure to constitutional matters deeper. In some ways, she is already being treated as a co-monarch in training. And King Felipe, while still firmly in command, is gently and deliberately stepping aside in small but symbolic ways. The king who once carried his daughter on his shoulders now walks beside her in equal stride, a father proud not just of who she was, but of who she is becoming. Letizia's evolution in this dynamic is perhaps the most emotionally rich. She has always been a powerful presence, intelligent, assertive, elegant. But in recent months, her public behavior has softened. Her glances toward Leonor are tinged with awe, sometimes even reverence. She seems to realize that the role of mother is being transformed into the role of silent advisor, that the voice she once used to direct her daughter now simply watches in admiration. It is not easy for any mother to relinquish control. But Letizia, with her own complex relationship to power and image, is learning to release her daughter into the world, not as a child, but as a woman destined to rule. The Spanish people, too, are beginning to see Leonor with new eyes. Gone is the distant royal heir who waved awkwardly from balconies. In her place stands a figure of substance, emerging slowly but surely into her role. She does not seek the spotlight, but she no longer shies from it either. Her journey has been quiet, deliberate, and deeply human, and that may be her greatest strength. For in a world exhausted by artifice and scandal, the quiet strength of a young woman growing into her purpose might just be the miracle Spain didn't know it needed. And so, As the palace gates close each night, and the cameras fade from the public square, one can only imagine the conversations happening behind royal doors. Felipe and Letizia, once the defining figures of a modernizing monarchy, are now watching their eldest daughter step into history with steady feet. The torch is not yet passed, but it burns brightly in her hands. Change has come, not with fanfare, but with grace. And Princess Leonor, once the little girl behind her mother's hand, now stands at the center of it all. As the world watches her journey unfold, one question echoes in the hearts of all who bear witness. If this is who Princess Leonor is today, what remarkable legacy will she leave tomorrow? The answer, of course, is still being written. But every sign suggests that Leonor is not merely stepping into a role, she is redefining it. Unlike her predecessors, she enters her future with the weight of a modern world pressing on her shoulders. The expectations are not just about heritage and protocol anymore. They are about values, representation, adaptability, and courage. She is being called not only to preserve a royal tradition but to breathe life into it. She is expected to navigate climate change, gender equality, digital evolution, and social justice, all while upholding centuries of royal structure. And somehow, even at her young age, she gives the impression that she is preparing to do just that. This readiness is not accidental. Leonor's education has been world-class and unusually strategic for a royal heir. From Wales, where she studied at the prestigious UWC Atlantic College, to her current training at the Zaragoza Military Academy, every step in her academic and personal life has been orchestrated to test her adaptability, independence, and emotional strength. She has studied alongside students of different backgrounds, trained in grueling physical conditions, and developed a worldview that extends far beyond the gilded gates of Zarzuela Palace. These experiences are sharpening her into a leader who may look royal on the outside but is shaped by the raw realities of the modern world. There is also something symbolic in her silence. Unlike other young public figures, Leonor doesn't engage in social media. She doesn't give interviews. She rarely speaks beyond official events. And yet, she is being heard. Her presence alone is beginning to speak louder than any headline or viral post. This quiet strength is becoming her signature. She is not performing royalty, she is embodying it. With every appearance, she conveys a sense of groundedness that feels almost revolutionary in today's celebrity-driven age. And therein lies her magic. She doesn't chase attention, but attention finds her. This maturity, of course, does not come without its sacrifices. While many girls her age are exploring adolescence freely, Leonor has surrendered parts of her youth to duty. She cannot post silly selfies or have unfiltered conversations in public. Her friendships are scrutinized. Her gestures are analyzed. Every blink and breath can be taken out of context. And yet, she endures it all with remarkable composure. In a way, she is giving up the life of a teenager to become a symbol of continuity, dignity, and leadership, and that is something even her critics are beginning to respect. Inside the royal household, this growth has undoubtedly altered the dynamics. Queen Letizia, for years the powerful matriarch of the family, now shares space with a daughter whose voice is becoming equally influential. Conversations once dominated by Letizia's insights are increasingly met with Leonor's quiet, confident opinions. Felipe, the king who once taught her to walk, now finds himself occasionally learning from her example. And Sophia, the younger sister who always stood beside Leonor in photographs, is beginning to carve her own identity, watching carefully as her sister paves a path that both inspires and intimidates. Yet despite these shifting dynamics, the bond between the four remains strong. The Spanish royal family has always been deeply private, but their public appearances hint at a unique unity. At formal events, a glance between Leonor and her father, a gentle touch from Letizia, a shared smile with Sophia, they all reflect a deeper emotional current. Even as Leonor ascends, she does so with the full support of a family that, while once her guide, is now also her witness. The Spanish people, many of whom have expressed frustration with the monarchy in recent years, are also showing signs of renewed interest. Leonor, with her blend of tradition and modernity, seems to bridge the gap between the institution and its people. Her presence at national celebrations, her participation in military honors, her deliberate choice to serve before she rules, all of these choices suggest a leader who wants to earn her crown, not inherit it blindly. It's a message that resonates in a country tired of privilege without purpose. But perhaps what's most remarkable is that Leonor doesn't appear to be seeking perfection. She knows the weight of her position. She knows the limitations. And yet, rather than buckling under the pressure, she embraces it, flaws and all. She is not a fairy tale princess. She is a real young woman, navigating the chaos of growing up under the world's gaze. And through that authenticity, she becomes more powerful than any idealized image could ever be. In the twilight of King Philippe's reign, still years from ending, but subtly transitioning, Princess Leonor's rise is not just a generational shift. It is a cultural moment. It is the reawakening of a monarchy that desperately needs to redefine itself for a new era. And as Leonor walks forward, one bootstep at a time, in polished uniform or elegant gown, Spain watches, not with distant reverence but with hopeful eyes. Because change has arrived, not with trumpets or speeches, but with steady breath, silent grace, and a presence that grows stronger by the day. And so we ask you, the viewer, do you believe Princess Leonor will become the queen who changes the course of history, not just for Spain, but for an entire generation hungry for authentic leadership?